things as a country that we must begin to do to strengthen this form of governance. We do have a guest in the studio this morning, and together we're taking a look at this topic. Otumba Muiwo Ogunlaja, he is a policy development analyst. Thank you for being here on the program this morning, Otumba Ogunlaja.
Thank you, my dear. Good morning.
Right.
Good morning to our viewers at home.
Let's start this way.
I hope I will be safe.
You know, Ajibola,
extremely competent.
don't worry, you're safe with me, but you see with Jibola, I can't tell. I can't tell.
Well,
this probably will be a good time for him to get back at you. Okay.
After so many years.
All right, Otumba, let's start this way. We know that Nigeria is practicing democratic system of government, and by the books, democracy should actually be a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. In your own opinion, if you were to look at the system of government currently going on in Nigeria, is it still democracy? And if it is not, what, in your opinion, is going on?
Thank you. Democracy is indeed a government that is based on the people, where the people have the right to say, I want to participate in decision making, or where they cannot directly participate. They do so through their representatives who are appointed through what's called free and fair elections. And really, your cachet that the government of the people by the people holds water. Because it is democracy is people-based.
Right.
It is the concept of the people that enables rulers to be there, and that is the power they have to represent the people.
Okay.
The question now is this: are the people being represented adequately or fairly? Are the people's interests actually being projected? These people, are they having the dividends of democracy? Can they say really they want to prefer democratic rule to military junta? Especially with what is happening in Upper Volta today, and in some other countries known as the Sahel states or nation. So the question is that the Nigerian democracy has actually failed people for now, because it is presently in a state of it's in a frugal state, fluctuating. It's not constant. It's in a flux. You cannot say, you cannot predict that it's what will happen. And whereas in democracy, you should be able to predict. You should be able to say, all things being equal, there will be elections so time. All things being equal, this will be the result of the election. All things being equal, people will have a say. Especially when democracy involves free and fair election, when it involves rule of law, when it involves participation and inclusiveness and representation, and when it involves obeying fundamental human rights. All the characteristics I have mentioned, which are the basis for democracy, are, as at today in Nigeria, not there. Okay. Then what are we practicing? Okay. It's not democracy.
Okay, when you say those indices, excuse me, are not there.
Yes, they're not there.
What are the factors responsible for these missing links? And why is our own democracy different from what is being practiced elsewhere?
Yes. Our own democracy is different from what is practiced elsewhere, because Nigeria as a nation itself is a different nation. Nigeria is the only nation in the world that has proven what I call remarkably acceptable indices, acceptable generalizations to be wrong. There's no place in the world where what is happening in Nigeria will have happened, and there would have been a revolution. It can only happen in Nigeria. It's only in Nigeria that people will shout at the end of the day, they'll go back to their beds and they'll get used to the system. It's only in Nigeria where government will do whatever they like, and the government throws the kite, throws carrot. People just sit and start showing the carrot out there. So it's Nigeria, that is it. But there are a number of factors that actually push us to this place now. One of these factors is the fact that Nigeria's democracy is a kind of what I call family democracy, family in quotes. People try to have members of their family on board. When one is aging and is living, you want to bring in the next person, as if
it's generational.
As if the democracy in Nigeria is generational. Since for the past years, I have been hearing of the name Atiku. I've heard of the name Tinubu. I've heard of the name Oshomole. I've heard of the name, so many names. And in Lagos, I've heard of so many names. These names are being replicated now. The Ogunle West are there in the House of Assembly. The Soso are there. I don't want to mention names, but they're there. So that's one. Number two, it's only Nigerian democracy that we must decide who will be. You have God federalism and with their Godson. The umbrella created by this God federalism and Godson is what we are witnessing in some states, and we actually witnessing now in River State.
Right.
It is what has led to the brouhaha currently happening in River State now. And then aside from that, Nigerian political space has been militarized. You see, to the extent that if you look at our past presidents, there was one young nephew of mine who came to pay us a visit, and was going through my collections in my library, and he saw the photographs of head of states that I have in my library. I arranged them in order of ascendance of the throne. And he saw one name twice. He saw Obasanjo military, Obasanjo president. He saw Buhari. And I was asking, Grandpa, why are these people, why are they coming to Africa? Don't make a mistake. I said, no, they came twice. So they are military men. And nobody could question them. You see, it does not happen. It rarely does. It's happening in America now because they wanted him, because they wanted Trump. Okay. They wanted to wake up from their slumber. But in Nigeria, you are not in slumber. They were there as military. They foisted themselves again on us as civilians. And nothing could be done.
Okay. Otumba, I know that you mentioned this in passing earlier on, but let's look at it holistically at the moment. If indeed we're talking about democracy as being government of the people, that means that the people's vote must count or should count. That means that if you're seeking to govern or be leaders, then you must actually go to the people to canvass for their vote. And the people in turn must come out on election day and cast their votes for this person. But at the moment, we have issues of allegations of voter suppression, election rigging, electoral violence, and of course the role of INEC as the umpire itself. And in every democracy, it is important the way government or leaders do emerge. And so if we're talking about you know, the beauty of Nigeria's democracy, especially in a challenging era, what should we do to electoral integrity in the country?
Thank you. It is a truism that democracy is in shambles in Nigeria for now. That's not to say that there is a better option. No. The only option to democracy is democracy itself.
Right.
And no matter the shortfalls or the observed shortcomings, it is still democracy. No other option. So I would say that how then do we ensure that our democracy is what it should be? There are a number of ways to it. The first one is, let us have a very unbiased, objective, independent electoral umpire. Let INEC be a subject of appointment for the National Assembly, not at the discretion of the executive or the presidency. To the extent that, aside from National Assembly, all state assemblies must have input into whoever becomes member of INEC, especially who becomes the chairman of INEC.
Sorry, Otumba, let me quickly, just so that you can handle that. If by your proposition, what if the executive also lobbies the National Assembly at ensuring that whose name is put forward is ratified by the National Assembly?
Thank you. That is politics, and that is good democracy.
Okay.
Yes. If the entire National Assembly can be swayed to follow the presidential nomination and just consider and accept and give assent, then it's okay. That means our representatives have been there to sell us out or to do what they consider to be in the best interest of the people they are representing.
Okay, rather than the president.
Rather than the presidency.
Okay.
So that all these the umpires often created when results are out that they are the beams, they are shares on the pawns of they are pawns on the chessboard of the presidency. They could do whatever they like. That would not be there.
Okay.
So that is one. Then number two, let us engineer our political process, especially our political parties. Political parties in Nigeria are not ideologically based. Our politicians are set of, I won't like to use the word, but I call it a set of beautiful brides, as said by our nationalist, late Dr. Nandi Azikiwe. They are beautiful brides. They're ready to go to any man that has the best of price, the best of bride price to give. They are not politicians of conscience. Today they will be in Party B. Tomorrow they will be in Party A. When they are in Party B, they will tell you that I would never go to Party C. If you see me Party C, I am this, I am this. The funny thing, I have to come to Party C. Party C is no longer there. They are not ideologically based to the extent that there is no party discipline. Imagine if someone coming from a party to represent a party, saying that you will not do the decision of that party. That's not democracy. In democracy, the party is supreme. No matter your opinion, the moment your party takes a stand, you go with that stand. That's not there.
Okay.
Then, another is there should be very free and liberalized press that is free, that is not cajoled, that's not working under duress, but that is objective.
Okay.
Unfortunately, some press houses in Nigeria are not objective. You will know their line of thought. When they present the program, you know where they are going. That should not be the case. I'm not talking about those ones. I'm talking about press where people will have their interest aroused, where you are held sway, where the climax is not attained until the crescendo has been achieved.
Okay.
So that is important.
Abimbola started by defining what democracy is, and of course she emphasized the people during our definition of democracy. The people themselves. Are they ready for the quality of democracy that we are demanding now? Because we have seen that oftentimes during the election, people will compromise, they will sell their conscience for a peanut, and of course collect stipend from these politicians. And so when they get there, there's a disconnect. I've paid you, and so you cannot demand for good governance from me. So the people themselves, what should be their perception now, if indeed we are desirous of having a very good democracy, and then they rarely come out for election?
Yeah. Thank you. It is what the government wants. No, the government, the comportment of the people is a function of the government. Now, if the government wants people not to have voters' apathy, government will make it possible. I'll give you an example. If you remember those days during the period of SDP, NRC, when in SDP then, a particular candidate, Agbala Jobi and Salome, they were at loggerheads. But the interest was aroused by the kind of jingles, by the kind of orientation and back upon by government then to sensitize people to the extent that even our children became part of the orientation. They were shouting here and there, Daddy, Mommy, Agbala Jobi didn't carry the both. Daddy, Mommy, Agbala Jobi didn't carry the meaning, Daddy, Mommy, cast your votes for Agbala Jobi, because they had been sensitized, even in their primary schools, to the extent that on that day, many parents already, they've had the assurances, they've had problems for their children, and they have given the assurances, they will cast their votes, and they want to cast their votes. Where is that now? The last election, how many jingles do you have? What is the orientation? Were Nigerians sensitized? They were not. Then Nigerians have been pauperized. You see, you can only say want to stand on the truth where your belly is full of truth, and the major truth for your belly is food. Government knows that if Nigerians are given access to 3 square meals a day, they will think right. And for them not to think right, starve them of food. As a result, the economy is what you have. That's my own thinking. Okay. So, where someone has not eaten for the past 3 or 4 days, and someone says, have this loaf of bread, look inside the loaf, you will see something, and he does that and sees something. He will take it now, and he will go. At least, even at our houses, national houses, at least you have had officers presiding, telling their members that go and look at your mail. You have letter. And say, it's money, it's letter. They know. So what is the difference? So the point is that government has deliberately made people have this thinking. Then most of the time people go to cast their votes. By the time the results are out, it does not reflect what they have done. And they now ask themselves, why should I stress myself when I know full well that it should not reflect what I have done? Why should I stress myself? So there's that party, because it is said that whether I cast my votes or not, the results are there, and they will be announced, and nothing will happen.
Okay.
So,
all right.
it's a function of the government.
Right. Another issue here is judicial independence.
Yeah.
And, you know, that saying used to be the judiciary remains the last resort of the common man, even though a lot of people are doubting that today, whether or not they can still lean on the judiciary. So how do we ensure fair adjudication of electoral disputes from the judiciary? I know that only recently the National Assembly, both houses, were debating on whether or not to terminate election petition issues at the Court of Appeal rather than have it go to the Supreme Court, which the case is at the moment. So how do we strengthen the judiciary to ensure that we go back to that trust that we all used to have in the judiciary?
In all truth and intent, I pity the Nigerian judiciary. I pity the judiciary because this is an institution that is made up of what I call trusted, patriotic men and women who have gone through the rigors of being educated in law, who have had who have garnered experiences and who are ready to dispense justice, but not favorably disposed towards that because of their immediate environment. To the extent that at times they give what I call situational judgment. Let us cast our minds back to the time of Chief Law and Alhaji Shehu Shagari. When the Constitution says that for anybody to be declared the winner, the person must have two-thirds of the states.
Right.
And Shagari had only 12 states instead of 13, although our law had 6 or 7. But the judiciary made the pronouncement, the Supreme Court, that the remaining 13 states should not be two-thirds of that state, as if there will be two-thirds of a person. And to know full well that it was a goof, there was a rider that this judgment must not be cited. I wonder how any judgment made by the Supreme Court cannot be the reference point. It should be the reference point, but this one, it should not be cited. So that to let you know that most of the time, judgments are not given based on the fairness, facts, right. Or fairness. They're based on political consideration. Although then, their thinking was that if they had done it, Nigeria would have gone on fire. I don't believe that. Justice is justice. There is no way to have justice. So, because of that, the judiciary has been under lock and key. A former presiding judge, Justice Coker, did say at a time that his hands were what? Tied. He said that publicly. So what are you saying? So the same is still happening. Any presiding judge or justice that believes that want to dispense justice without taking care of the immediate environment, you say that the person has no wife in Nigeria, no children in Nigeria, and they cannot be traced. And he has no skeleton in his cupboard. And most of them, in the process of growing up, has skeleton in his cupboard. Because tell me that person who has not sinned, let him throw the car, let him cast the first stone. Let him cast the first stone, let us see.
All right, there is this discussion now in the House of Reps that we should change from the presidential system of government to parliamentary. Do you think if that is seen through by the amendment that they're trying to do to the Constitution, will it make things better for us?
I'll come to that. Another reason for the failure of our democracy is our leaders, especially our representatives. Most of the time, they engage in what are called frivolities. Instead of looking at the dividends of democracy, real issues that will benefit Nigerians. I don't know what benefit it will make for Nigerians, whether we are practicing parliamentary system or presidential system. I don't know whether people should be under 60 or 80 or under 40. What Nigerians want is good governance from any system, whether parliamentary, whether executive, whether for officers below 60 or above 60. Good governance, 3 square meals per day, uninterrupted power supply, good roads, affordable hospital care, schools for our children, employment after graduation, security of life and property. These are what people, Nigerians want, not either parliamentary or presidential. They're just diversionary.
So then the problem
And so-
then is with the political actors.
Yes.
Not the kind of, or the system of government that we're
It's
practicing.
not the kind of system of government that you practice. That's not a problem. Our problem is those actors, those politicians who believe that their major concern should be how to assign to themselves humongous salary. Salary of a whole local government being taken by one person every month. How to talk about sex scandals instead of discussing real issues. How to talk about paddling the budget instead of looking at the real actions. How to turn themselves to contractors. I wonder what politicians are doing with constituency allowance. Are they contractors? You have to talk about development of your constituency.
Okay.
And you are request for allowance for your constituency. How many of them spend constituency allowance? I saw one some years back who called his people and said, come and look at my constituency project. What did he do? He bought a pillar of
The pole.
NEPA pole. And call people with his own allowance. How much is that? I can buy 100 of that for my people. So what is that? And people now are clapping, idiots, clapping, yeah.
Otumba,
You see?
yes.
So the point is that the actors are the problem. The actors are the problem. It's not the system.
It's not
Whether
the
I go
system.
parliamentary, whether I go executive, whether I go unitary, whether I sit by camera, the system, the people who are going to execute the system, those are the people. So it is the political actors that need to look at themselves and not the system.
If you think that the political actors are the main issues here, and that needs to be looked into, how do we marry that with corruption and lack of accountability?
Very good. Same political actors. I want not to generalize. There are some Nigerian politicians that are actually above board, that are not corrupt, and that they want to be held accountable for their actions.
Okay.
But these are just few of them. What will about 3 or 4 do in a house that has 97 members, or where you have 100 or something? And what will they do? There is this saying in the Bible that the number of corrupt, Nigerian politicians who are corrupt far outweighs and outnumber those who are actually patriotic. And because of that, they can't do much. And mind you, in politics, especially decision making, the majority always they have their way. They have a say. And you only have your own say. And if your say has been taken care of by the majority, then you have to fall in line. So it is because most of these politicians are very corrupt, and the system actually
also helping them
to make corrupt.
Right.
What do you expect from someone who pay 100 million naira for nomination fee, who paid another 500 million naira for the party to be for campaign, and ask him to go there and not to find a way of making the money back? He will do. Until we make politics, until we decentralize politics, to make politics less attractive. How do you make it less attractive? Reduce the money. Tell them that it's not a full-time job. You're going there to meet. You sit. You get sitting allowance anytime you meet. You have to, if you are not fully engaged, you cannot participate in politics. You must be fully engaged. Then if they are going to be any salary, let the salary be that salary of a permanent secretary in the public service. So that you know how much you're going to earn. That's your salary. If you know you cannot take it, don't go in there. Then let everybody declare assets. I mean actual declaration. No, I'm not talking to what they are doing now.
Not doctored.
Not doctor declaration. Just as a priority of Papa Fota told his officers, his ministers, that declare your assets, not doctored. That should you get to know of any assets not here, he will deal with them. And they know that your boy will deal with them.
Okay.
So politicians will get to the place and will still be using their vehicles, as Baba Jakode did when he was governor. He was using that Laurel, what do you call it? This Toyota Crown Laurel throughout as governor. Not the politician will get there, and because you are the so you will go with about 40 vehicles. Hey? Wasting manpower, wasting fuel, because it's not your money.
Okay.
It's annoying. These are the issues.
Okay. So far, you have blamed the political class as well as the people who have turned themselves to lapdogs of the political class. Yes. But in all of these, how do we change their orientation? How do we change their perception? And what should be the role of the National Orientation Agency?
Very good. Our orientation will start to change if the government starts what's called massive enlightenment program. Mind you, you can only do that if you are committed. Mind you, just like the below 60
Not
not above
young to
60, especially not too young to rule. And the one they are considering that are just going through the second reading, that if you are above 60, you cannot contest for the presidency, vice presidency, governorship, or deputy governorship. Those people who are considering the law are the ones smartening up to become governors and presidents, and all of them are above 60. So that means between you and I, that law, that proposal is dead on arrival. They are just trying to carry you along. Hey, let's give them what to make them feel that we are doing our job. After some time, they will not go to what they wanted to do. That's why I say they are just time wasting. You see? So until when people are really determined, who are really committed, who really wanted Nigeria to succeed, then we will have it. So massive orientation of Nigerians. Let it happen. Then in schools, start exposing these children to civic education and what is essence of good governance. Make the lifestyle of people like Traore, Kampore, people like Jakonde, people like Umaru Yaradua of the best memory. Make their lives, people like Ahmed Kano, make their life history studies in secondary schools, so that people can say, so this is where people should act. Let them see. Then do less of ostentatious living. Don't let us see if someone goes with about 40 vehicles all the time and then not come out in his grandeur. Hey, I've come. This, that. I don't want to mention any post. They know themselves. So do less of this. And then let Nigerians know that whether you are in politics or not, government caters for you.
Okay.
That government knows it's after you. Government wants to have your 3 square meals per day. Government wants to have security. Government wants to have access to education. Government wants to have a shelter over your head. Government wants to feel that you are secured. You can sleep with your 2 eyes closed. But as of today, most Nigerians are sleeping with only 1 eye closed. Some are not even sleeping with any eye closed.
At all.
The 2 eyes are opened.
Right.
When you are hungry, you won't be able to sleep.
You won't be able to sleep.
You will counseling.
You can't.
Before we allow you go this morning, I remember that when we started this conversation, you said the alternative to democracy is democracy itself,
yes.
Which means that what we're practicing at the moment might not be the real democracy, but it is a process that can be improved upon.
Yes.
And so how do we ensure that Nigeria's democracy thrives, especially as we preach good governance? You talked about accountability. And so in talking about good governance, what should the priority be for government, and what should the role of the people themselves be?
Number one, the people, the people is, I put it this way, the people get the kind of leadership they deserve, or they deserve. You know full well that these people, they have antecedents of not doing what should be done, antecedents of only catering for their own family, antecedents of planting their own offsprings, so that there will be continuation of that within the family. Then, and you are still casting your votes for them. See, let the people know that the liberation we are talking about can only be done through their own ballot box, and through their own personal conviction that let these people have this and this, so that they can be sampled and they can be tested. Number two, let politicians have a rethink. I have seen a Saul that became a Paul. I have seen an armed robber in Nigeria that's now a pastor. Hey, so there's nothing wrong with these politicians to have a rethink. Okay, we have done enough of money looting. Let us serve these people. At least sleep now and have your consciences. Sleep. And say, this is Nigeria. Must all of us, must Nigerians be trampled upon? No.
Okay.
Have your conscience as okay. Let us serve these people. Let's give them dividends of democracy. How many Nigerians can go abroad? Then let us limit the access to education, to health, to
limit the access or increase.
Yes, let us limit the access to education, to health outside the country for politicians. For politicians. If anything happens to you, go to General Hospital Lagos. Go to the University of Lagos Teaching Hospital. The minute you know that you cannot go out to do any medical job, you will ensure that these hospitals are in good condition.
Okay. Isn't that what those lawmakers should be doing?
That's what they should be doing, but they don't bother. But the moment they have ordinary headache, they've gone abroad. Some of them actually take the leisure of saying that I'm going to Jeddah on Friday for the Jomat prayer service, all because they have private jets. Look at that. Look at that effrontery.
Okay, that's
When
really not good.
people are suffering.
Right. Okay.
So it's annoying.
We'll have to leave this
That
conversation here this morning. Thank you so much, Otuba Muiwo Ogunlaja, Policy Development Analyst, for finding time to be with us on the program today. We appreciate your thoughts.
Okay, my dear.
Right. Otuba Ogunlaja has said, for Nigeria's democracy to be better than what we have at the moment, it is not just about the government. The people also have a role to play. So government must continue to play their own part as much as the people will continue to play their part. And on that note, local government elections are fast around the corner in Lagos. I mean, this is the time to start. Get to know those candidates that, will be vying for your vote, and begin to know who exactly you'll cast your ballot for. That's the much we'll take on this side of the table this morning. We'll take a break. When we return, Joy will take you through her Lagos conversation today.
The views expressed on this program do not represent that of the producer, management of Lagos Television, or the Lagos State Government. They remain the perspectives of those expressing them. Thank you for staying with Lagos Television.